Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming to this mediation. So everything's strictly confidential. If you guys need to take a break by any chance, just let us know. Um, Please be respectful for each other. We're trying to, I guess, find somewhat of an agreement or a solution to, you guys' problem. We're here to just um, organize and see what stuff you guys have to say, and then come up with something maybe of your interest.
And the biggest thing is we want to know exactly what you both need, because we're not looking to take one side or another. We're here to help both of you. This is a mediation process. This is, you have both opted to come in here and avoid, at best, to go through the court process, which could be expensive and difficult. So we're here to try to help you get through your situation in the quickest, most efficient manner, but also in the most satisfying manner possible for both of you. So we'll go ahead and start with Mrs. Smith.
So I really think the issue started when I bought some weed killer, some Roundup from Home Depot. Like the weeds in my backyard are like crazy. So I bought some of that and I sprayed it, and it was a few days later. I guess supposedly some plants died over in their yard, but I really don't know what died. And so ever since then, they say that I'm a KoiFish killer and that I killed their trees, and we've been pretty abrasive with one another. And then I'm pretty sure they called the cops on me saying I was a drug dealer. And so so when I came home from the police station, there was a video camera pointed directly into my bathroom, which was a little disturbing. That's my private time. I don't need that to be recorded. So I went over there to talk to him about it, and she was over there doing some martial arts and, being really intimidating, and what they weren't talking to me, they were just, practicing whatever fighting thing it is they do. And so, I took a broom and I tried to move it, the camera, and then I was arrested on vandalism charges for that, which was ridiculous because, that's obviously an invasion of privacy. And, I just have a lot going on with my family right now. I don't really have time to deal with this issue with the neighbors. So I went over there, in good faith to settle this, and they didn't even talk to me. They just slammed the door in my face. So I just really want this issue solved. I have a lot of family issues that I just don't have time to deal with this right now.
And you want to go ahead and speak?
Yeah, so I am here representing my dad. My dad is an older guy. He doesn't speak any English. We're from Japan, and so I'm here today to try to help my dad with his problem he's having with his neighbor, Mr. Smith. So there's been 3 incidents that have happened. Like you mentioned, there was some spraying of some weed killing solution, and since he did that, my dad had to seek medical attention for his eyes, and then slowly, a couple of days later, we saw that our fruit trees that we have in our backyard started dying, and we have a small koi pond, and all our koi fish died after the spraying was done. Then for our protection, because we felt threatened by Mr. Smith, we had some video cameras installed in our house, and one of our video cameras was knocked over, and it was Mr. Smith's doing. And then he came over one day and he attacked my dad and I, and was screaming at us, just making us feel really unsafe. The fish have a lot of sentimental value to my family and I, because it's a tradition that we have that you give a fish, the children give a fish to their mother, and my mother recently passed away, so it's been really hard on my my father and I. And so we think it's a little bit of a racist racial problem that's going on, because my dad is Japanese and he doesn't speak any English, and I just, don't really care about, getting any money out of this or anything. I just need my dad's things replaced, like all the landscape, and the fish. And it's just been really hard for my dad, and I'm really busy, and I'm taking time out of my day to be here, and I don't have the time to keep coming to these type of meetings, and we need to come down to a solution.
Understandable. Did you want to add anything to that?
I would say there is a language barrier just because Mr. Kobayashi, or however you say that really big, complicated Asian word, speaks in a different language that I don't understand. So, like, when he mumbles to himself in an Asian language, like, it just frustrates me because he's not helping the situation at all by talking to himself.
Excuse me, sorry. I'll let you finish, but may you please keep like verbal, verbal abuse to like a minimum. If you can't say your name, just say, ask Mr. O or the first letter.
Well, I think the issue here is
Thank you for that.
let's, you feel that the differences in culture is sort of creating this, but if you can see that we're here now speaking about this for all of us, and I think we're communicating on the same level, and so I think that could be maintained. I think that could be maintained outside of mediation, a level of communication, because we all are here, talking about this now. Of course, it's a matter of coming out of that whole feeling of cultural differences and culture shock. But yeah, let's try. The one thing is, much like your culture, his culture is going to be a different kind of approach methods, especially older generation. So maybe the father, because he doesn't speak English, might have issues with the whole situation, might have a hard time dealing with it. But as I mentioned before, and as you can see, we're all on the same level right now. So what do you feel, outside of culture, what do you feel is makes it hard for you to basically approach?
I think really it would be a monetary issue. They're expecting me to shell out all this money to replace all these ridiculously expensive fish. And I recently just lost my job. I know that, they're more than well off to pay for whatever it is that they have, but I can't afford a $400 to $500 fish. So, I mean, just replacing those, that's an issue. Just the whole, expecting me to shell out all this money that I don't have for fish.
You want to add to that?
I'm sorry to hear that, that she has recently lost her job, but, there's consequences to one's actions, and I'm not going to be held responsible for something I didn't do. If she, sprayed that and her spray did, caused all this damage to my dad's yard, she should be held accountable. Was
it determined yet by anybody, such as DA, if it was the spray?
No, but the timeline is just too...
It's a little spray bottle that you spray directly onto your weeds. I didn't spray anywhere near their property line, so I don't understand how me spraying a little bottle of chemicals got into their yard, killed their fish and their trees. And why her dad's eyes got messed up? I mean, was he, rubbing, trees in his eyes? I don't understand.
A question for you. Is there other neighbors around you that might have used, maybe throw a party or something
Not
like
that
that?
not that I've noticed. That's the only thing that really caught my eye and my dad's eye. And yeah, it maybe could have been a small bottle, but if there's wind, if there's wind carries, and it gets into my dad's eyes and into the trees, and I guess into the water where the fish were. But no, we haven't had someone come out and determine that that's in fact what it was, but it's just too much of a coincidence that the timeline, it's like the spray and then my dad, his eyes get bad and then everything starts dying. There was nothing out of the ordinary but that spraying being done.
Have you consulted the city, maybe see if they've been doing anything around as well? Because the city does often do spraying to keep pests out of the area.
Usually they notify us if they do that, and we haven't had any letters or any calls come in regarding that.
And how old are the trees?
One is, I believe, 10 years old, and the other one is 15 years old. And then we have also rose bushes, and like I said, my 9 koi fish. And then the DA estimated the value to my whole property damage, $3,500.
So I was gonna call. So I know Mrs. Smith said something about a camera. Was those cameras put before or after the incident with all the deaths of the trees?
This is put after.
It's after.
After.
Okay. So what about that one camera in the bathroom? I want to know why exactly was it put there in particular, facing that direction? Was that intentional or?
It was intentional, to a certain extent, not in a pervy way, but maybe that's where she was making the solution or adding things to the solution, and we just.
So there's a lot of distrust here between neighbors, but obviously you two haven't talked very much as neighbors, have you?
Not really.
Well, I'm not her neighbor, and I'm really busy, and my dad doesn't speak English, so no, there's no connection there.
I tried to talk to her dad, but it just didn't work.
Well, there's obviously the language barrier of the father, but I think, how often are you at the house, at your father's house?
I want to say maybe I stop by once a week,
Okay.
if possible.
So this might be an issue for us to deal.
Excuse me.
For us
Thank
to
you.
deal with your father directly. Now that might be a little bit difficult, but I think having a translator come in and help us it would help us get a good understanding of how your father feels, because you being there once a week might be a little tough to communicate with her as a neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously your father knows exactly what is going on, and he has those feelings from exactly what has happened throughout, when you're not there.
Mm-hmm.
They may have not communicated, and that I think communicating with all of us here would probably help, because again, as I mentioned, we can all communicate on that same level,
Mm-hmm.
even with the language barrier. We can all communicate on that same level. I think that's the issue we're having, is trying to get on that level. It's hard to really get on that level when we don't have all the information in front of us from parties involved. I mean, there's you as a neighbor, but you being there as once a week, it's good to know your point of view on it. It's important to know exactly how you feel about it, because it is a part of your family. But your father is also a huge part of this, and without him, it's really hard to make any decisions about what we should do.
Right, but the information I have all comes from him. I mean, I'm telling you what he's telling me. I haven't added, yes, this was my mom's koi fish, and yeah, it was his house, it's his property, but this is all this is what my dad is telling me, and this is what I'm trying to relay back to you guys, and, But I think, yeah, if you want to bring him in and bring a translator, I'm more than happy to do that.
Okay, and you want to add anything?
Yes. So, Mrs. Smith, I hear you're having family issues, so I know there's a more different concern. And also, you, I'm not sure if you brought up that you're not looking for money. I'm not too
I
sure if
did.
you Okay, so there's emotion stuff. You don't want money from her. So I kind of see something mutual. Is there anything both of you might want to throw out as to like come together?
Well, I do have a friend who does landscaping, and he said that he could take a look at the property damage and do it on a really low, paid for me. So that's something I can do, but I really can't replace the fish. They're just too expensive, and just maybe get my landscaper out there.
Okay. You want to add anything to that? Exactly.
You know what? The fish can't really be replaced. They're fish we specifically gave my mom. It's like when you have a dog, you can't bring back that one dog. Getting a new dog that's just a new dog. So the fish really aren't my worry. It's more the landscape, and maybe if we can just build a pond, and maybe later on we can get new fish. The fish is, I know it's a lot financially for her. But as long as the landscape is redone, I'm willing to drop the criminal charges. As long as she knows not to come over to my dad's house and not, threaten us. And that's all I want is for my dad's landscape, the trees, the bushes, just to go back to normal and everything to be fixed.
Just to add to that, would there be a way, say, if she has a concern, with your father, or your father has a concern with her, that maybe they can contact you or someone else beforehand, before like you said, you don't want them to talk to each other? Is there a way that can be settled
She's
as well?
more than welcome to shoot me an email, and I can respond. I'm checking my emails all day.
As long as we're willing to communicate, I think that's the important part. Because in order to actually get anything done, you're willing to communicate, and that's important. Even though you're just there once a week, I think it's important that you're involved, because you are sort of the conduit between her and your father.
Mm-hmm.
So, now on the case of the fish, you had mentioned that you just can't afford to replace the fish. Is there a way that if you got a job in the future, that you could possibly at least shell a little bit of money? I'm not.
Well, she did say the fish were
irreplaceable.
So, I mean, why would I replace fish that she said she didn't really want replaced?
You didn't want to replace, or
no?
Not at all. Okay. Anything you want to add?
I think
If she can't afford the landscape, how would she ever be able to afford $300 KoiFish?
I think we're going off topic now. So what I got from both of you is, you guys are, already at a solution-ish, I say. We can put that to paper, and then, maybe later on something doesn't work out. You guys can come back to this mediation or some other mediation, and then we can go from there. But for now, we see something, you both agree.
Yeah.
So
You're both willing to communicate, which is good.
Sounds
So let's keep that up, and hopefully we won't have to come back to this situation. But if you ever need to come back to here, I'm definitely willing to do it. We're both definitely willing to do it.
thank you for coming.
good. Awesome. Yeah.
Alright.
Boom.
Yeah.
And the mediation, now we're going to debrief. Okay, so what worked? What didn't? What worked for mediation?
What?
Redoing the pond and all that.
Oh.
You wanted it.
Landscaper.
I know, but she a broke asshole.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh my god.
Divorce. Come on. Lost my job. I've got a million kids.
Should have offered her a job.
No.
Work in my yard. No.
I ain't gonna get paid minimum wage to work on somebody's yard that I hate.
50 cents an hour. Come on. No.
Any concern you guys thought like we could have
I know.
focused on more or something? I don't know.
I think
I'm
just
sure.
overall we all need to
We're all
start give up.
Yeah.
the roles in this one were extremely
Just
hard.
really weird.
Like,
I could have been like, oh, the Asian language, and then like, oh no, but I didn't want to be mean.
Well, you actually did that at the beginning. I tried to turn it into a.
I
I
could
would
have been
flip
like,
out.
Really?
You didn't say anything.
You're looking at me. I was like, I know. I just need to let her
You
finish
better
first.
fucking say some shit.
No, I really like. I wanted to. I wasn't expecting it. I was like, oh my god.
I know. It's
Right.
like, how do
I know
type
you
this
saw it.
out?
I was like, oh.
I was like, oh god. And I meant to actually go in there and be like, I wanted to say, well, I mean, I understand we're not on the same issue culturally, we're coming from our backgrounds, and you feel that might be a factor in why there's communication issues. But it didn't come out that way. It ended up coming out in this really long, discombobulated paragraph that I
It's like when you start talking and it's just like
bumbled
you
off
find your
there.
way.
So dumb.
and I was like,
Okay.
okay, at this point I don't know what I'm saying, I'm just bumbling out words, and hopefully it makes sense.
Okay. So next time I think we're in agreement. Let's do either. I think you do the doodle, right? Or Joaquin
one of
does?
us.
So let's assign the
One of you.
roles and then
Just send it out maybe like tomorrow. Or when is our next thing due?
that's
Like 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
so-
But like let's send it out now, like so we do it like as soon as possible.
Like
We
the
wanna leave it-
doodle?
Yeah.
I don't know my schedule yet.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna
So
say,
we can
oh
shut
well then
down
we
by
can
next
split
week.
up the roles though.
Yeah.
Already.
Yeah, we
So
can do
let's do that. And so we can, and it doesn't matter. You guys can pick. I don't think anybody cares.
that. I'll be party too, to whatever.
And so we can like really research
Party
everything and like
one.
really think this through, and then maybe I know that we all have like crazy schedules, but like maybe pick a time where we're like really engaged and.
When are you guys usually free? I know you don't know your schedule.
Thursday after
Thursday,
4:15.
Thursdays are good for me.
Yeah, Thursdays are. I don't have school on Thursdays. I just.
Cool.
Me either.
Yeah, because I have a class right before this, and then at 4:15 I get out of it. So.
Okay.
Is there an extra day just for the safe side?
And then Tuesdays are really good.
My tongue. Tuesdays.
And then I can do every other weekend.
No, Tuesdays don't work for me because I have to. Oh, because we have his class. Well, after his class, but
After his class. Well, even before his class, I have time.
see, before his class, I have another class, so it's an issue.
But like after his class.
Wednesdays don't work for me.
Yeah, Wednesdays. are my long days.
Well, Mondays work for me. Well, no, they don't. I'm gonna say Mondays and Wednesdays no because I have a group in my Monday and Wednesday class that I kind of want to keep on those 2 days. So,
Sunday
of course,
mornings work for me.
Sunday mornings work for me too.
Every other weekend.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
But I'm going away, so
Oh,
like for the next 2-3 weekends, I'm not gonna be here.
okay. So looks like Thursdays work for me.
Yeah.
So
Well, then you guys,
we're
we
gonna
have to
shoot
do
for
it next
Thursday.
week because I'm not gonna be here
The
from the
following.
12th to the 18th,
Okay.
and I think that's when it's due. Well, I mean, we'll check. We'll
Yeah,
email
we'll
each
check,
other,
yeah.
but then yeah, we have to do it sooner. 'Cause
ASAP.
Sounds good.
we
Yeah,
all have
that'll
to be
work.
there.
Or Friday mornings work for me.
Yeah, and that's it. With this one, I think it's just the roles were really tough.
Yeah, but
Especially-
it's just weird.
Because it just, I felt like there was nothing, like it was really hard to come out with communication, facilitating communication between those two parties. I mean, especially
Since you weren't even like the actual party, you were just like.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But I think
that's the reason why I
not how
mentioned the
you brought up
grandfather. Because I was like, you're not even really the person. You're the, that's the whole issue I think we talked about in the midterm, was it?
Yeah.
I think that was one of the questions in the midterm where it was just like, well, this person isn't involved.
Yeah.
So, first of all, you don't have a voluntariness
Uh-huh.
there as well either. Like, you just came sort of at the request of your father, I guess.
Yeah.
It doesn't really say that, but I'm going to assume your father didn't want to go to court.
Mhm.
Or you didn't want to go to court, so it was kind of like,
Her dad being
Involuntary.
Mhm.
and as I said, the whole thing about you being a doctor but not being able to tell us about it,
I
it's
was like, what's the point of that?
But I think the whole thing was like financially. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I say, "Oh, I'm a doctor, I'm busy," be like, "Well,
well,
give me
I
more
was
than
actually
enough
tempted
pay
to
for everything."
ask. I was
Because
tempted.
then she could have been like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You're a
Yeah,
doctor.
because I was just like, they're financially,
No, I was tempted to add, and that would have probably actually extended the time and our whole conversation.
Mhm.
Is I was tempted to ask, because you mentioned at the beginning that you didn't have time, and I was like, well, you mentioned that you're having family issues, and you mentioned that you don't have time. What is it that you're distracted with? Would have been a good question for me to ask you. That you. Okay.
So we're good?
Yeah, good job.
Pow.
Yeah.
Yeah. What the
potted.